Action.
Hi, welcome to our home. Won't you come on in? We're going to talk about rolling pins for a little while. I'm Bonnie Goldman. I'm a volunteer for the Bordentown Historical Society, and I have a rolling pin collection. Actually, about 500 rolling pins. Don't get nervous, we're not going to see all of them, but we're going to see a lot of rolling pins in 3 of our rooms in this house, starting with the kitchen. So follow me. I'm going to give you a view of the entire kitchen so you can sort of see all the rolling pins that are in here, and then I'm going to talk about them individually. So my tech support, my husband, is panning the kitchen. There is a cute dog here too, which he'll pan. Go down there. Ah, there she is, looking so cute. That's actually a bake oven, and there's a big hearth in here as well. This house was built in 1750, although we think this particular part of the house was from about 1850. But the oven and the hearth might have been part of an outdoor cooking area that eventually got enclosed. So let's start with the most common question that I'm asked. Why do you collect rolling pins? And it's all because of this one rolling pin that I'm going to point out over the door. Big, fat wooden rolling pin. Very cute. I bought that in 1980. I had purchased a house in Bordentown City that was built in about 1820, and I thought, wouldn't that be so cute in my kitchen? And it was cute in my kitchen. I paid maybe all of $10 or $12 for that rolling pin. But it did sensitize me to the fact that rolling pins came in all different sizes, all different kinds of wood. So I started collecting wooden rolling pins. And at the time, not knowing all the different kinds of wooden shapes and sizes that there could be, and you can see on this wall where I have them arranged sort of as chimes, how amazing they are in terms of their uniqueness. Now, the second most popular question is, if you had to run out of the house with just one rolling pin, which one would it be? So I'm going to show you this pin here. This pin was my grandmother's, my maternal grandmother's. It's what is now called a French rolling pin. That is, it's just got tapered handles and no handles with a cylinder, the kind that we sort of think about, probably all of you thought about when you heard that you were going to see some rolling pins. A traditional rolling pin with 2 handles and a cylinder in the middle, which maybe your mother or grandmother had, although my grandmother had this one, and she used it very well, just putting back of her hand on it. Now, it's known now as a French rolling pin, and I have several of these, as you'll see when you look through the collection. And anybody who's been to France knows that the French know how to make bread and pastries and such. So amazing that if they think this is the best kind of rolling pin, you can probably put your money on that. This one here is probably, this was made, used for pasta, making pasta. It's a really nice, thin, long rolling pin. Likewise, this one, it's a beautiful wood. I'm also going to show you one that was used to make ravioli. And there are other wooden rolling pins that were used to make various pastas. Now here, on this hutch, which is kind of like a wooden Hoosier hutch, actually made in Columbus, New Jersey as a wedding present in about 1900. It's got spice drawers and flour bins and whatnot. At the top, you'll see a blue and white striped rolling pin on the left. And in fact, all 3 rolling pins up on top of the hutch are English. And of course, once I found that rolling pin and then found a matching pitcher, I got very excited, never knowing that, you know, this was like a whole collection of things that were manufactured in England. And these were made in the 1920s. Cornish ware is what it's called. And actually, the Cornish company was making things until about 1907. It went out of business, and then someone reopened it in 1909. So it's very, very popular, especially in the 30s and 40s. Those rolling pins are probably from maybe the 20s and 30s, something like that. It was as popular as our Fiesta ware in the United States, this Cornish ware. And it's still made today, and it was sent all over the world, as a matter of fact. Another English company, Portmarion, made rolling pins that were made to be filled with ice water so the dough wouldn't stick. This happens to be a really beautiful one with birds. There's some with butterflies, flowers, and another English pin. Well, actually, it's probably a German pin. It could be English or German. I'm thinking it's a German pin. Has no markings. I suspect it's from about 1930. Beautiful handles, and it's in beautiful condition. But sometimes there's no way to know where a rolling pin comes from if it has no markings, and that's very often the case. I also have some little baby rolling pins, miniature rolling pins that you can see. This one, actually, someone painted a whole scene on it for me, and this other one someone made for me. So those are really fun as well. Now, we're going to walk over to above the pantry cabinet, and we're going to look at this rolling pin on the end, which is actually stoneware, like a crock. It's like crockery with blue trim. Very dear and rare because they simply didn't survive because they're so breakable. And that could have been made even in the 1830s through to the early 1900s. It has no markings, so I'm not sure where it's from. I got a lot of these antique rolling pins in Brimfield, Massachusetts, where there's giant fields of antiques every year. The next one has a picture of ships, and it has no markings. Again, I don't know where it was made. Could be English. I'd say maybe from the 20s or 30s, something like that. And to the right of that is a yellowware pin. Now, yellowware was made in many states, but lots of yellowware was made in Ohio starting in the 1840s with the Harker Company. That company was in business for almost 100 years, but that particular rolling pin could have been made in the late 1800s or the early 1900s. Again, very dear because they just don't exist. That many don't exist anymore. The next one is English, could be Welsh. It's milk glass, and you would go to a fair and they would paint something on it for you, some pictures, maybe a poem, maybe the name of somebody that you love, and you would give it to them as a gift. And very often those pins would be filled with either salt or tea. The next little pin is also English, and it is called, that type of decoration is called either podicomania or decalmania. They would line the rolling pin with plaster, and they put these pictures inside that's actually, you know, from a magazine or what have you, and they meant for it to look like china, you know, china that was actually porcelain imported from China. So it's very unique and very cool. Something you'd probably appreciate a little more if you could see it up close and personal. The next little pin I got in Pennsylvania, and I suspect it may be a Pennsylvania pin. It's white porcelain, it's got blue trim and gold trim. It's just a really sweet rolling pin. And the next one next to that is a brass rolling pin. Don't know why you'd want to use brass on dough, quite frankly. A tin was sort of common because it would stay cool. Maybe the same applied to brass. And around the corner here, I do have a little tin rolling pin about the size of that brass one. Very cute with wooden handles. Sometimes the tin pins came with a tin, plate that you could roll it on. And right next to it, there's a very large pin. It's English. It says KC, and it has the picture of a bewigged barrister. So some of you may know that King's Counsel is what some attorneys in England or barristers are referred to. That's the only thing I could think of. It has no other markings, so I don't know that much about it. I've never seen another one. Then we have a lot of rolling pins from the United States that were made in maybe the 20s and 30s with wooden handles. They were glass in the middle. This one here to the right of that English one is called clam broth because it looks like clam broth. Well, I don't eat clams, but I think that's what clam broth looks like. And another one above it, similar. That one might have a little plaster inside, and there's two of them that you'll see in a minute that are just clear glass with wooden handles. Now above my sink here, I have this very large, long pin that once upon a time looked really good because it had 2 sailing ships on it and a poem. And when I got it, I tried to clean it up with just a damp cloth, and I actually, the writing came off, so I was devastated, learned my lesson. But obviously a lot of these pins, that was not a pin that would be anything other than decorative. Then we have 3 rolling pins that are advertising pins. The first of which says Columbus Flower, always satisfactory and uniform. Now that's an American pin advertising a flower, I think from Ohio. That pin's probably from the 30s. And the next 2 are English. Use Allicin wholemeal flour for all purposes. And the one to the right of that was so cute. It's ironstone, probably from, I think about 1930 or 40. And it says antidote for indigestion, Combs Eureka flour, awarded 9 gold medals. Holy mackerel. I have 2 clear ones with wooden handles coming up, and the one in the middle over my stove here with, it looks like it could hurt you, especially if anybody rubbed it along your back, was made for crushing oats to make oatmeal. That is an English pin. Not sure how old it is, but I would guess that it's at least from the early 1900s. So we're going to keep moving. As you can see, the pins are all on top of the cabinets. And going around the corner, there's one with flowers on it. It's English, and it's from a company, it's called Portmarion, China. It's like the one that I showed you earlier with the birds. So that's one of their other themes. There's 3 pins now we're looking at over my window. The top one is a small one. It is actually amber glass. It's hard to appreciate unless you pick it up and hold it, through with the light coming through, which I'm not going to do because, trust me, getting some of these pins down is a challenge. But that, I believe, is South Jersey glass based on everything I've read and where I bought it. But the one below it, which is also amber, that is clearly an English amber pin. And then the one below that, which is sort of a light turquoise glass with somebody's grandmother, and I really don't know where that came from. I can't know if that's English or American. But I will tell you about all these amazing pins to the right of that grouping. In this corner, we have pins, many of which are from the 1870s, and some of which are even from the 1830s. Generally, these pins with the swirly glass and the speckles and the blue, cobalt blue color are referred to as Nailsea glass. And that's because there was a glass company in England called the Nailsea Glass Company. It was established in the late 1700s. It existed for 100 years. It's a very big and important glass producing company. They also produced bottles, but mostly glass for windows. At the end of the day, there was leftover glass. And what happened in not only the Nailsea factory, but these other glass factories, was at the end of the day, they would make things with that leftover glass. So they were called glass house whimsies or end of day glass. And in addition to making the rolling pins, they made glass slippers. They made walking sticks out of glass. They made witch balls. They made all kinds of things out of glass. And the pins, you know, were very much a popular item, not to be utilized, but just to be adorning the household. So if you look at the swirls at the top, there's a couple of red ones, a white one with swirls, a blue one. That swirling actually existed in Egyptian glass in 4000 BC, but it's most familiar to people who have seen Venetian glass from the 16th and 17th centuries, that swirling kind of a glass. And if you go to Venice now, well, if you could go to Venice now, you'd probably see glass like that. The cobalt blue, like this giant guy here, that's a beautiful cobalt blue that was known to exist in Nailsea glass, Nailsea glass ware. And then these three pins that appear to be black are actually that dark green bottle glass color. Again, if you hold it up to the light, you can see it's really dark green. These two with the speckles are probably, they could be as early as 1830. Remember, Nailsea glass factory started in the 1700s. This one has actually the names of several children that were born to this family. William Leadbitter, born April 16th, 1847. There's a couple of these etched on this particular pin. This is a very old pin as well, also English. So most of these pins are English, but there are two here that are American. Our cobalt blue, our amethyst from the United States. That's original Depression ware. These two are Depression ware reproductions. And this really cool teal colored pin is English as well. Probably from the 1870s, something like that. Now, there are two speckled pins here. This little one and a bigger one with blue and a little red. And then there's another one over my window that we're going to try to focus on. Those three pins, like the Decalmania or Podicomania pin, they were coated in plaster. So that's how the spots or the speckling shows up. It's really pretty cool. I don't know how they did that. Now we have a little collection here. These guys, of course, Springerly pins are what they're called, but the Springerly pins would be for making cookies, and you would get this design on your cookie or on whatever you were making. A lot of these are hand carved, and some of them are quite beautiful. Some of them tell you where they were made. This one, made in the USA, holy mackerel. I know I have a couple that are German. This one could have been used actually for pasta. So now I have a couple of pins on the table I want to show you, and then a couple under my countertop, so you're following me. This is a marble pin. Some pins are marble. You know, marble is cold and it's hard, so it's probably pretty good for using as a rolling pin. If you're using some dough, you don't want the dough to stick to the pin. This is really cool because it came in the original container. Featherweight pastry roller. It was from a company actually in Montclair, New Jersey, and it really looks practically brand new. The handles are Bakelite. It's a metal pin, and it was a pin that was made to be filled with ice water, and again, it wouldn't stick to your dough. This was made in about 1940, this particular pin. I have just a couple handsome wooden ones here on the table to show you. This one is very, very light. I think it's made of balsa wood. This is just so pretty. And this one is a roll right pin. If you can see the end, the end comes off. And again, you would put ice water in this pin so that the dough wouldn't stick. This pin could have been made from actually, I think the 20s through the 40s. It was very popular in 1940. And what it tells you at the end is that it has the Good Housekeeping Institute seal of approval. So roll white pins were very, very popular and very common. A couple of other really beautiful pins I want to show you under here, wooden ones, beautifully made. There are 2-point Portmarion pins under here, but should I take these down? Okay, I'm going to take these down. So here is an exquisite handmade pin with all different woods. One other, beautifully made. And this one, I know, was made in 1970, about 1970, in Kentucky, made from all different woods. It was a gift from somebody who was looking for a good home for her rolling pin. And the rolling pins were in Country Living magazine and Country Cooking. Somebody that read it was a man who made this rolling pin for me. He actually made me 2 rolling pins, this one and a smaller one. And that's very beautiful, and it was very kind of him. And this little skinny guy, I believe somebody got on a trip to Borneo, of all places. And one other very interesting rolling pin. Well, it wasn't used as a rolling pin per se, but it looks like a little rolling pin. It has in the cap, written in pencil, the age. This guy to fall over. And it says, I always have to sort of open it up, it's very hard to read, St. Mary's Picnic, August 1889. And that's what's written in the cap, but you won't be able to see it. It's very, very hard to read, even with good light. It was written with a pencil. 1889. How cool is that? So I don't know what it was used for since the cap came off, but in any event. So this is basically part 1 of the rolling pin tour. There are 2 other rooms. This is the biggest room, full of about, I would say, in here I have about 137 rolling pins. I have about 70 in the dining room, and I have 60 some in the mud room, which we're going to do next. That will be part 2, if you haven't OD'd on rolling pins already. Now, I've done this virtual tour for the Bordentown Historical Society. As I said, I'm a volunteer. I was born in Bordentown, very connected to the history of this town. And many of our events will not take place this year because of the coronavirus. So we're trying to do some virtual educating and do some fun things virtually. So I hope you enjoyed this little tour and learned something about rolling pins. If you're in a position to do so, the Bordentown Historical Society would, of course, appreciate any donation that you could provide. And their website is bordentownhistory.org. So I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. And I hope to see you in part 2 and part 3. Thank you so very much.